Yes, indeed, folks, are tuning in to Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, Total Biscuit, and we have more topics to discuss, so let's get right on with it. I was intrigued, I was interested, I must say, on a particular topic, which I noticed on the forums. Unfortunately, it seems to have vanished. However, thanks to the internet, it's findable, hidden, somewhere in the mists. And here it is. If you're in our RC channel, you'll be able to see this. And it was posted by a mage called Quandari, which I assume is Quandary, but not spelled correctly, which really doesn't give things a particularly good start. And they say this. Promises, promises. What we were promised. Help for fire in PvP. Help for frost in PvE. What we got? Nerf to mages of every type. This is like a song. Let's try and make it into some kind of poetry, shall we? Nerf to mages of every type by giving our crit debuff to other classes, then cutting it in half. Crappy RNG disarm with a low proc chance that requires mage getting hit to activate. This for a class that makes its living in PvP by avoiding getting hit. Impact reworked in a way that is on balance a pretty hefty nerf. Replenishment on a crappy talent that nobody will ever use, because Frost is still horrible for PvE. Reworked PvE only Ice Lance, glyph that is completely useless, because casting Ice Lance in PvE is still a loss of DPS. Thanks a lot. Oh, I almost forgot. Instead of fixing the abysmal programming of the mirror image spell, or giving me direct control of it, Blizz, once again, takes the easy way out, and simply removes functionality. Stunning. Isn't that so much better when you read it that way? Because otherwise, it would be a colossal pile of bollocks! Blizz promised me this! Blizz promised me that! And told me to do this for me! But didn't give me a time frame, or specifically state how they were going to do it, but they promised me! They promised. And of course, the reply from Ghostcrawler was suitably epic. Yes! I did just say epic! Ghostcrawler promised me a pony. And the forums exploded. Oh yeah, the drama. The worst possible thing you can do when dealing with the idiots that infest, and I do say infest in perhaps the most derogatory possible way. I mean, I'm talking the creatures that inhabit the underbelly of a rotting ship. The rats. The crabs. Not the nice kind of crabs either. The bilge. Those kind of people. The seedy underbelly of World of Warcraft. They're the kind of people that inhabit the forums. Because Lord knows, the worst thing you can do when involving those kind of people is to confront them with reality. Because they all have their own separate realities, hidden away in a lovely little bubble. Yes. And that bubble can be very easily popped. It's very fragile, despite how willfully ignorant these people can be. And they're very good at it, don't get me wrong. They are well practiced at simply ignoring everything that is right, proper, and common sense, and simply pursuing their own moron, ditto-head agenda. You'll find people like this in every walks in life. Most of them can be found in the Republican Party. But Lord, don't confront these people with reality. Especially if you're in a position of authority. Oh, you don't want to do that. No. Especially then. Because what's going to happen is Q, and Q again. And I don't mean the British style of queuing, I mean crying, bawling. Crying a river, drowning in said river, being washed up on the shore of some beach in front of a bunch of kids who are scarred for the rest of their lives. That kind of QQ. The worst kind of QQ. Now, why did the forums explode? Well, I suppose you could perhaps argue that a customer service representative gave a sarky remark to a customer. Yeah, and of course the old adage is the customer is always right. And anyone who's ever worked in retail will be of course aware that that is complete and total bollocks. The customer is rarely ever right, is mostly wrong, and usually communicates in a manner which is irrational and driven by their own personal emotions and beliefs of what the particular situation should be, as opposed to what the particular situation actually is. It's rather ridiculous. Rather disgusting, and if you've ever worked in it, sadly, par the course. Now, he ended up having to leave this thread. He says, we want to make these discussions a place for serious discussion. A lot of that has to do with the way you communicate. Any thread that starts off or has a healthy dose of Blizzard doesn't get my class and hates me and breaks promises isn't getting us there. Do not QQ, do not insult the developers or other players, do not demand changes, do not make threats. If you think someone is wrong, explain why. If you think something isn't working, explain why. If you aren't sure how to communicate the way you want to communicate, then just read and don't post. I probably won't come back to this thread, so I would not post here with the intention that I see it. Healthy dose of reality there. Based, of course, on the forum rules, which most people tend to ignore, myself included, because I think the forum rules are somewhat draconian in place, although I've got rather good at dodging them lately. Now, this thread got deleted. I would imagine that this was Ghostcrawler having his Xeric moment, and we all remember what happened to Xeric. Xeric threw down a healthy dose of reality and ended up losing his job. Now, as to whether or not that was directly related to that, we can't really prove it, but it's likely, let's face it. You can't say that to your customer base, no matter how stupid they are. And you know what? I wish they would. I wish they'd say this kind of thing more often. Because what's going to drive people away from this game is the stupidity of the community. If you lose a couple of QQers whose petty little, horrible, bitty, fragile feelings got hurt by someone delivering the truth face first, then I'm okay with that. If you lose those people, I'm alright with that. That's a benefit. WoW now has a reputation of being full of idiots, and that reputation is not undeserved. Not by any stretch of the imagination. You know what? That puts off players. WoW is mocked by every other gaming community. Seriously. Every other gaming community. Every game. I've played a variety of different MMOs as well as other games, and mentioning that you play WoW in any of those games is the equivalent of hanging a noose around your neck, covering yourself in tar and feathers, and saying, "Good Lord, hang me now. I robbed the village store. You should cut off my hands. Subject me to the horrible kind of punishment. As I did all of these things." It's a crime, literally. It's like a crime against gaming humanity to admit that you play WoW, because you are associated with these dolts, these dinguses, these wastes of breath that do not deserve the time of day. They do not deserve protection. They do not deserve pandering to. They should be purged with fire and pitchforks. Have a good old-fashioned village riot, peasant revolt, to get rid of these idiots. And yes, it is okay to confront them with reality. It is for their own good. You are doing them a service. Now, the CM's job, as far as I see it, is to try and keep the forums healthy. Now, this is something I've said on my blog. If you want to check it out, blueplease.blogspot.com. I wrote a 5,000-word project on how not to get trolled on the WoW forums. One of the things I said, which I must reiterate now, is that you get trolled because you post crap. And that the forums that don't have a lot of trolling on them are the forums that have the strictest rules and the harshest penalties if you break them. And that is not only enforced by the people who run the site, but the community that is protective of that forum. If you post crap on the Something Awful forum, you will get flamed in manners that you could never have possibly imagined. Seriously. It will burn you into the middle of next week through your monitor. You will be covered in it. You will have to go to intensive care to deal with these kind of burns. Do the mods stop it? No, they encourage it. It's self-policing of the forums. The rules are clear. If you don't read them, you deserve everything you get, quite literally. You don't have to protect these people. I mean, bear in mind, people pay to post on the SA forums as well. Do you think they protect them just because they pay? No, they don't. They oust them when necessary. Why? Because they want a good forum. And they want people to stick around on their forums, and it's not going to happen if the forum's full of morons. And that's the same with this game. People are not going to stick around if the game is full of morons. Plenty of people have already left for that very reason. You're getting an increasing vocal minority of idiots who continue to post to the forum, and nothing is done about this stupidity. I mean, people that post threads which have been answered a million friggin' times. How many times have you seen, I want Classic Realms, it was so much better back then, blah 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 blah, posted on the forums? How many times have you seen it? And how many times have the mods actually come down and cracked down on the people seriously for it? The best you will see is either a move to the suggestion board or a lock. That is the best you will see. And generally speaking, you won't even see a lock. They won't even go that far. People get so upset when their thread gets locked. Freedom of speech in a private domain doesn't exist. Newsflash for you, sorry. You don't have the right to say whatever you want in a private domain. And when it comes to your dumb opinions, yes, your opinions are not some kind of sacred cow that may not be harmed. They're not enshrined and protected. You have the right to state it in a public domain. You don't have the right to state it in a private domain. Blizzard happens to have given you that right, and you should be grateful for that, because it's a privilege. Now, you do not have the right to be immune from criticism. Criticism is not a personal attack, necessarily. Sometimes it is. And the reason why is because you're an idiot. And you acted like an idiot. That's why you got burned. That's why you got insulted. It should be relatively obvious for anyone that has even the vaguest grounding in reality that if you do stupid stuff, you're going to get mocked for it. These people don't deserve protection. They're ruining the game. Literally. Every time these people are catered to, the game dies a little bit more. I troll specifically, and this is my specific motivation, to try and get rid of these people, to just try and drive them away. I don't care if I have to say nasty things about them to do it. I'm a grown-up. I can say nasty things about whoever the hell I damn please. And they have to deal with it. They can't deal with it. They whine to teach you. You know, this is the kind of thing you expect in a schoolyard. Now, personally, I would say to Ghostcrawler that good on you. Good on you for saying that. Good on you for going for that. Because this post is stupid. As a mage, I am embarrassed. Yeah? We were not promised help for fire in PvP and help for frost in PvE. They stated they were looking into it. They did not give a time frame or any ways whatsoever to do it. And what did we get? Nerf to mages of every type by giving a crit debuff to other classes, then cutting it in half. One thing, they didn't give you crit debuff to other classes, and two, yes, they cut it in half because it's overpowered. How do you think it's going to scale when Old War gear has more crit on it? It's already ridiculous. I can already get over 50% crit in Nax gear with the appropriate buffs. I mean, that's insane. You should never have crit that high, especially not on a class that is based around long casts. That's nuts. You can tell that wasn't designed for that, because ignites don't roll. The worst thing is crit, crit, crit. Oh, wasted ignites. Yes, they cut it in half because it had to be cut in half. Because if you don't cut it in half, when you have Old War gear, you're gonna be ludicrous. How do you properly balance in that regard? You don't. You can't. What happens when you start wearing that gear in PvP and you've got a 60-70% crit chance? That's insane. You can't balance around that. Crappy RNG disarm. As opposed to what? It was terrible to begin with, now it's slightly less terrible. Impact reworked that in balance is pretty hefty nerf. It's not a nerf at all! It's a buff! It gives you control of something that was previously random. Why is it that people seem to think that all trees have to be viable for everything? They don't! They don't have to be viable for everything. We're a DPS class, we're not a hybrid class, we don't need viable specs for everything. If we want to do Frost in PvE, then you're going to ask yourself why. We've got two other very good specs to begin with. Same with PvP. Oh, I can't do Fire in PvP. Okay, I've got Arcane and I've got Frost. I've got loads of options. So why would I care? Let's have some variety. Less homogenization, please. So yeah, blah blah blah, whining, QQing. If you're gonna post like that, expect to get burned. And to be honest, I'd like to see more throwing down, because what are people gonna do? Really? Cancel their subs? No, they won't. Not a chance. These people are ineffectual. They can't even vote with their feet because they don't have the testicular fortitude to do it, nor the common sense to effectively demonstrate their opinion in a way that actually makes sense and doesn't want to make you rip your own eyes out with a fork. It's atrocious. You're listening to WoW Radio. My name is Tall Biscuit and this is Blue Please. I will be right back after this. Enjoy.